important, but 2, sometimes we say it a different way. All right, so what did it mean to do inverse? What were some of those words you guys said? Opposite, undo, backwards, switch. Sometimes we hear the word like reverse, inverse, reverse sound the same. So those are just good words to think of. Technically, the big word we want to think of is the word undo. So if you want to circle that one, box that one, that's kind of like the big one that we want to really connect with. Okay, that's on. Right. No, just that's too much. People can't focus. All right, so we only have 3 examples today, but we're going to just go over these inverse operations. That's kind of our big part today. When we think of subtracting, what would be the inverse of subtract? Adding, good. So we want to write that, subtract and add, but that can also go the other way. If I have adding, to undo adding, we can subtract. But there's kind of a different one here. If I'm adding a negative, like if I say plus -2. We could say minus a -2. That gets a little goofy with those minuses and negatives. So what would be the inverse of adding a negative?
Subtract.
We could subtract a negative, or we could add a positive. So that's usually what we do when we see those negatives that we're adding on. And to undo adding a negative, we're going to add a positive. Okay, and then we just have one more for our directions up top, and then we're going to just do 3 examples. Got a couple people still writing. All right, which operation have we not included yet? Division, and how would I undo division? Multiplication, or the other way around. If I have multiply, to undo multiply, we divide. All right, so for our 3 examples, our directions are just going to be to solve the equation. Remember, when we're solving, our goal is to find the value of the variable that makes it a true equation, that makes it all work out. All right, so for our first example, we have 2c minus 3 equals 13. Two c minus 3 equals 13. So if I took away this equals part just for a moment, we're just going to cover that up. If we were working with c as the number, would we subtract first or multiply first? Yeah, we'd multiply 2 times whatever, and then we would do minus 3, and our answer would be 13. And we're trying to figure out what c is that makes that work. Some of you could do that guess and check. You know that you could figure out some numbers. Try maybe 5, 2 times 5 minus 3. Nope, that doesn't work. Try another number, so on and so forth. Okay? But another way to do this is by inverting this process. So I like to draw this line down the equal sign. That helps me keep everything the same, because equal means same. Okay, or the equal. So anytime I do something to one side, I have to do it to the other side. Good. All right, so normally we would do multiplying first and then subtracting. But because I'm inverting it, I'm undoing the process, what am I actually going to start with? The subtracting. I start at the bottom of our germ DOS, A and S. Do I have any adding and subtracting to undo? Yep, I have subtracting. How do I undo subtracting 3? Add 3. And if we do it on one side, do it on the other side. That's why in the next part I can have an equal sign. I like to do this line across. That helps me realize that there's math to do. Okay, minus 3 and plus 3 make what? They make 0. So I don't have them anymore. So we're left with just 2c equals, what's 13 plus 3? 16. Okay, so now to get c by itself, that's our whole goal, is to get a c equals statement. I need to undo this 2. When the 2 and the c are touching like that, they're really close. They're so close, there's nothing between them. What does that mean? Multiply. So if you need to sneak in a little time sign, you can, if that helps you remember. And how do we undo times? Divide. In school, do you remember you're going to see that division sign with the line and the 2 dots? So divide by 2, and if we do it to one side, other side. So on the left side here, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1c is just c. 16 divided by 2, 8. And we're done because now we know what c is equal to. C is equal to 8. That was our goal, was to find what c is. We got to get c all by itself. Now to check our work, we can pull up our Desmos calculator. Remember, Desmos is the calculator you could use on tests and quizzes. We don't do quizzes. I don't know why I said that. Tests. Okay. 2 times, what did we say is c? Yep, our answer, we said c was 8. So I'm going to go back to this original and just double check our work. So 2 times 8 minus 3. What should my answer be? 13. Did it work? Yep, so we got it right. The checking part? Yeah, these will be, this is like what's on the quick check, yep. All right, we have 2 more examples depending on your room. If you wrote big, you might want to write question number 2 next to it. That's where I'm going to put number 2, just to make sure I have space for all my work on one page. If you're feeling like you want to work ahead on these, that's okay. I'm going to do 3 minus 6m equals 57. Okay, I always like to, oops, you can't see that. Cool, crushing it. 3 minus 6m equals 57. My brain automatically just starts putting that line down the equal sign. That's something I just start doing because I know I need to keep it balanced. And identifying where that equal sign can be really important because sometimes we have really long equations and it's like, okay, I did it to this side. Where the heck is the other side? All right, so to undo, to get this m by itself, am I going to undo the multiplying first or undo this 3? 3, good. I like to kind of think of it as best friends. If you want to be left alone, are you going to first get rid of your best friend or are you going to get rid of the person that's like, kind of my friend? Yeah, you're going to get rid of your kind of your friend and then eventually you'll get rid of your best friend, right, if you're trying to be by yourself. So we like to keep best friends together as long as we can. Okay. What's another word for this number that's the best friend that's right next to the variable?
6.
You're right. It is 6. What's the vocabulary word for any number that's there, though? Close. Constant would be the 3. Coefficient. Our variable is m. Coefficient is the number next to the m, and then our constant's the number without. So we get rid of our constant first. Is this a positive or a negative 3? Positive. So how do I get rid of a positive 3? Yeah, negative 3 or minus 3. And do it on both sides. We're going to be really careful how we pull this work down. So this 6m is here, but is it a positive 6m or a minus 6m? How do I know it's a minus or a negative? Because there's a negative. That minus, it's like a beautiful butterfly. It's now a negative sign. We used to say minus 6m. Now we're going to say negative 6m in this step. All right, 57 minus 3. 54. Okay, now I need to get rid of that negative 6. So am I going to add 6, subtract 6, divide by 6, or multiply by 6? Yeah, when they're touching, what does that mean again? Multiply. So how do I undo multiply? Divide. One way of showing division is by using that division symbol with the line and the 2 dots. Another way to show it is by doing a fraction line. So divided by negative 6, divided by negative 6. However you want to show your work is great. In the quick check, it's going to be a drag and drop. So your quick check will show it with this dividing sign, because that's just the way I got to do it. All right, negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1. So I'm left with just m. The whole goal is to undo things. 54 divided by negative 6, negative 9. If I go back to my original equation, that very first line, if you're like, where is she getting this from? Right here. If I say 3, minus 6, and then what did we say can go in for m? We said m is negative 9. So if I put negative 9 in for m, do I get the answer 57? Yep. How many problems are on the quick check? 2.
No.
One more. One more together, and then there's just 2 questions on the quick check. Very simple today. All right, number 3, last one. Number 3, we have 46 equals 13m plus negative 32. So again, if you want to try and work ahead on this, you can. Yep, I always like to do my line with that equal sign. That way it helps remind me where am I putting things, on which sides, what are the 2 sides. That equal sign can change kind of the position where it is, the location, but we want to make sure we're always doing things to both sides of it. So if I'm getting m by itself, that's my goal. Will I undo the coefficient first or undo the constant? I'm going to get rid of the 13 first or the 32. Good. The 13, those are like best friends. Remember, multiplying is like a bigger deal than adding. So because adding is less of a big deal, it's a smaller part on the step, we get rid of that first. We get rid of the easy things, then we deal with the hard things. So to undo adding negative 32, what would be the opposite of adding a negative? We could subtract a negative, or we could add a positive. By far, a lot of students do much better with adding positives than subtracting negatives, because subtracting negatives are just like, what? Now, notice I put it right underneath that 32. That helps remind me what I'm undoing. Some people, when they write this, if they put it underneath that 13m, they might think that they're doing 13 plus 32. But I'm not doing 13 plus 32. I'm really doing this negative 32 plus 32. Do it on one side. Good. Other side. I draw that line across. That tells me that there's math to do before I start my next step. So 46 plus 32. 78. Good. Equals, and what am I left with on the right side? 13m. Am I done yet? No. How do I know that I'm not done with this problem? Good. It doesn't say m equals. Our goal is to get m by itself. We have that 13 that's still there. So when 13 and m are touching, that means multiply. So we divide, yeah. Good. So divide by 13. And you can do it either way. If you want to do it with the line and the 2 dots, or you can use a fraction. As we get to more complex, we'll use that fraction more. And if we do it to one side, other side. Okay, that undoes the 13, so I don't need to write that 13 anymore. 78 divided by 13, 6.
There's a pattern.
Kind of, yeah. So we're going to always undo adding and subtracting first, then undo multiply and divide. So, which is different than when we look back. So if I plug that in really quick, 13 times, what did we say is m? 6 plus negative 32 equals 46. Yep, it's balanced. So before you put this away, 1, keep it out for your homework or your quick check. But if we go back to GermDOS, normally in GermDOS, we would multiply and divide before we add and subtract. But because we're doing inverse means to do opposites. We're actually starting at the bottom now. We're going to do adding and subtracting always first. Get rid of the adding, get rid of the subtracting, then get rid of multiplying and dividing. Does that make sense a little bit? It's a little goofy because I know we just spent like so long GermDOS, GermDOS, GermDOS. Now we're going to do sad Mr. Egg. Okay, sad Mr. Egg. That's GermDOS backwards. All right, rest of the time is for your quick check, and we have a lot of time. Your quick check will not take the rest of the time. Okay, so because you have so much time for your quick check, today would be a really good day to check Skyward. I did update grades this morning, just last period. So if you turned in your assignment or you redid your assignment, it should be updated now, finally. Sorry about that.